And we are here at the 5th Annual Civil War Muster. Today we will be visiting different Confederate camps, the Union camp, and also the Battle of Gettysburg. We're here with General Lee today. It's the 150th anniversary of the Civil War. What do you think makes that event so appealing where we're still reenacting it today?
We're still learning about ourselves. People need to know their history, where they came from, how they got to where they are, and where they're going to go in the future. There are so many things, if you read about the Civil War history, that are so, equate so much to what's happening today in the world. We're doing the same thing today that we did 150 years ago. We haven't learned our lessons. So
you are a reenactor. And can you explain your outfit, how it was back in the Civil War?
Yeah, this is a wool uniform, 100% wool. Wool was chosen because it's a strong material. It wears very well. If it gets wet in the wintertime, it'll still keep you warm because it's a natural fiber. In the summertime, you know, you're wearing cotton all underneath, and by midday, you're pretty damp underneath. But if there's a breeze, it goes right through the wool because it's a natural fiber, and it cools you off. I mean, these people weren't stupid. They knew how to dress for the weather. My uniform differs from most of the other Confederate generals you see. There is nothing on my uniform that indicates a general. I have no stripes on my pants. I have no hat cord on my hat. I have no soutache on my sleeves. I'm not wearing a sash, and there was a reason for this. General Lee, I wanted the common soldier to be able to come up and talk to me. That would intimidate the common soldier. He would not come up and talk to him. This way, I look like every other soldier, and they would tell me what their thoughts were, their feelings were, and I could reassure them as how things were going. It was a communication factor. The Civil War defined us as a nation. It took us from being a country and defined us as being a nation. And that's something we need to remember. We need to not forget how we got to where we are and what it took to become what we are. How the men died for our freedom, to be able to do the things we do. That is what this is all about. And the 150th, it's an anniversary to remember and reflect on and continue to strive to try and make this a better country.
Well, thank you, General Lee, for your time.
You're very welcome.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Nice meeting you.
If you stay tuned, we're going to be interviewing Mr. and Mrs. President Lincoln. Welcome back. We're now here with President Lincoln. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being with you and talking to members of the press. It's always good to have the press on your side.
Why do you think that President Lincoln had such a big role in the Civil War?
As soon as Lincoln was elected, there were some states that had been contemplating seceding the Union, and I think they were afraid that if Lincoln got in charge, things would change, so they were going to kind of jump ship beforehand. And then as the war continued on, Lincoln pretty much kept at least the North together. There was war weariness. There were folks that were literally thinking about maybe we should side with the South. Some of the folks more out in the Midwest, they couldn't get their crops down the Mississippi River, so maybe if we're nice to those Confederates, maybe they'll let us go down there. Keeping France and England out of the war, there's just so many things that Lincoln did, and oftentimes they're things that you don't necessarily realize, but he certainly was quite a juggler, was able to get quite a few things working.
Would you mind explaining your attire of President Lincoln?
That would be fine. Now, my hat is my desk. I typically, if I would think of something, I would write it, and then I would stick it up inside my hat if I needed a flat surface. I have the flat top of my desk here, and then I can put it in the cubby hole here and carry it along. My beard, there was a young girl that saw a poster of me in the 1860s, and she said, well, Mr. Lincoln, your face is so thin. I think you would look a lot better if you had a beard. Now, I've had other folks say that, gosh, that man is so ugly, anything to cover that up would work, but she was 12 and was being very nice. So I've had my beard, and I'm not sure if it makes me any more distinguished or not, but it does cover me up some. Yeah. Now, is my tie on straight?
Looks good to me.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, because in my time period, if your tie was on straight, that was inappropriate. The tie was supposedly slightly askew. Deliberate neglect is what they like to call it.
Really?
So I apologize for that. And I do have a frock coat. That was proper. And I did have a vest. And if I got very warm and I started to take off my vest, Mrs. Lincoln would tell me that gentlemen, which I think I might be, typically need to keep their frock coats on, because if I walked around outside, I would be considered to be walking around in my underwear.
Really?
The things that us men have to put up with as far as clothing is concerned. Oh, it most certainly is. And I do have my pocket watch here. And the children generally like to see this, and the tricky part about my pocket watch is that it is a watch in a different fashion than maybe what they're used to, number one. And number two, it ends up having Roman numerals, so you go, where's the 1, 2, 3, and that is a challenge there. I do have suspenders holding my drawers up, but we shall not discuss that. My feet, I have 2 of them. I have one foot that's a size 14, and the other foot is size 13.5. I'm a little lopsided here, but that's why when I was saying when I dance, ladies have to be careful and cautious, because I come at them with very large feet. So.
Thank you very much for your time, President Lincoln. Cool. So tell me about yourself. Like, what is your role on the Confederate side?
I am a lieutenant colonel for this weekend, and just kind of overall Confederate commander, telling troops where they go and have fun.
Here we are at camp. Can you explain this area a little bit?
This would kind of just be more of an officer's tent, kind of a, he'd be sleeping in the A tent, and gives the other officers a place to meet and discuss what's going to be happening that day, and it's kind of a good meeting point more than anything. The Confederates have a little bit more rough than most Yankees have, but these would basically be the dog tents here. What soldiers would do is they'd usually about 2 guys would sleep in this, so it would button down the middle. So one soldier would carry one half, the other would carry the other half. And when they'd find where they were going to stay for the night, they'd button it together and pitch it up, and 2 guys could sleep in this, and this was home.
Comfortably home.
Oh, yes.
And what about, how do you cook, and do you have a little kitchen?
Well, usually we have hardtack, which is just 6 parts flour, 1 part water.
Okay.
And gets nice and hard, but that'll last till the Lord returns, so they say. And but mostly, we cook sausage, bacon, eggs, stuff that's easy, and we try to, cook with stuff that they would have had, just to kind of get out here and get the experience of what those guys went through.
Where do you keep your weapons?
Just kind of lean against our tents, or when we go to sleep at night, usually I sleep on top of mine just to help keep the rust off. So.
What do you use? Is this an example?
Yep, this is actually a Springfield right here. It's a 3-bander, black powder. Good soldier could fire 3 shots in 1 minute. And these weigh anywhere from 10 to 12 pounds normally, so.
Heavy.
So.
Oh. How would you hold it?
Just aim and shoot it.
I don't want to shoot it. Like.
So, yep. So.
Wow, that is.
But yeah.
That is awesome.
So this would have been the typical gun of the time. So.
And can you explain your attire for me? Like, how does this?
Mostly what we have here is jean and wool, but so it breathes a little better than the wool does, that's for sure. But this would have been the more common uniform or material that they would have had. And usually about 63, they were just picking up what they could.
Okay.
So you can kind of see we all got mismatched. You know, we would have, you know, found some pants on the battlefield, or, you know, raided some supplies somewhere and just used what the Yankees weren't using. So.
Take what you can get, right?
Because they wore rags most of the time. So.
Wow.
So.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for
You're
your
welcome.
time. It was very unique to be on the Confederate camp, and we'll be back for some more interviews. We are here at the Union camp now with the Lieutenant Colonel. So what is your role?
Basically, I'm the battalion commander. We have 2 companies here, so I'm in charge of both companies. Each company has their own captain that is in charge of the company, but I'm the overall commander of both companies.
Okay,
So.
excellent. And we're here at camp, so can you explain a little bit what's going on?
Well, this is what we would call our company street. The big tent on the end would be the captain of the company, and then the soldiers would be each in their own tent on the company street. These are called dog tents. Each man carried half a tent, and we got to a camp, they would button the tent together, and then 2 men would have sleep in the dog tent.
Bummer.
Basically, they come with that's a ground cloth, a rubberized ground cloth, and a blanket. That's all they carry. And the tent half. They have a knapsack that they carry with just the bare essentials, you know, a couple extra shirts maybe and some extra socks.
Okay.
But, you know, when we're on the march, this is all we carry.
It's very educational for students to come and actually
Oh, yeah.
experience the
A lot of the
Civil War.
teachers say that the kids will learn more here in an hour than they can learn in the classroom in a whole year. Because we go through our uniforms, our drilling, how we fired our weapons. The civilian ladies, they go through different clothes that they wear and the different camps that's set up. And yeah, the kids get a lot out of it.
So speaking of attire, can you explain what you wear for your attire?
Well, as the colonel, I'm what I call the senior officer. I wore a 2-breasted coat. The company officer, just a single-breasted coat. Dark blue wool. The wool is, you know, summer and winter uniform. So you can imagine what it's like marching in the summertime when it's 95 degrees wearing wool. And then I also just carry a handgun, but this is more for my protection. It's not much good for long distance fighting, you know, like that's what the rifles are for.
Okay.
And then I have the sword, which is more ceremonial, because, you know, most of the battles now are long distance battles. There's very little up close. So I use this for more or less directing the troops. You know, when I'm in the front of a 100-man company, you know, we go forward, right or left or halt, so the men in the back can see what's coming up. So
how many soldiers do you lead?
each company has 100 men.
Okay.
And then there's usually 10 companies in a brigade or battalion, and then there's 10 battalions in a brigade. So, but we're out of Grand Rapids. We meet in the Armory on 44th Street. That's where the 3rd Michigan actually formed in Grand Rapids in 1861.
Oh, okay.
So we're portraying the original company that formed in Grand Rapids.
Wow.
So, and we have about 50 men that we can put in with weapons, and with the civilians and everybody, we probably have close to 75 to 100 members in our group.
Wow.
And then, you know, we say we meet at the Armory. They treat us really well because we're part of their heritage too.
Mm-hmm.
So we meet in their NCO club. It's called the 3rd Michigan NCO Club. So everything they have there is free for us.
Oh,
And they invite us to different get-togethers, and then we do a lot of school presentations, like in the spring, mostly in the spring, May, June. I think we did 5 of them this spring, go to different schools and do the presentations.
Awesome. And you have a battle coming up today?
Yes, we're going to try to do two different battles.
Okay.
One is basically the first day battle at Gettysburg. We're going to have the dismounted cavalry. That's going to start off the battle. Then we're going to come in and support the battle. But we actually lose the first battle because the Confederates overran us, and that's when we ran through the town of Gettysburg. And then our second battle, we're going to do Little Round Top. You know, the ground out there with a nice big hill is just perfect for that, so we're going to do Little Round Top. So we're going to win the second battle of the day.
You're going to win the second battle. Excellent.
Yep. Well,
thank you, Lieutenant Colonel, for your time. And we will be back for the Battle of Gettysburg. Thank you for joining us at the 5th Annual Civil War Muster. I hope you enjoyed this program. My name is Sarah Reichart for Holland TV.